Folks, we have a serious freaking issue that absolutely needs to be addressed and questioned immediately. And that is the logic and mental capacity of a sitting Supreme Court Justice, Justice Jackson, after yesterday's hearing in regards to birthright citizenship and the conclusion that they came to should have every single true American extremely concerned if you aren't already. So let's talk about it. The jurisdiction fraud. Because birthright citizenship is broken and everyone fucking knows it. Let's be direct about what's happening right now in America. People are illegally crossing the border, deliberately giving birth on U.S. soil, and exploiting a legal interpretation that was never designed for this fucking purpose. And our institutions are unfortunately defending it. That's not immigration policy, that's fraud. And the American people are tired of being told they're wrong for noticing it. The 14th Amendment says this: all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. Note those 5 words: subject to the jurisdiction thereof. The framers didn't write anyone who lands on the soil. They built in a condition, and that condition has been gutted beyond recognition by over a century of judicial overreach and political cowardice. Here's what the framers actually intended: citizenship for the children of freed slaves, people with no other nation, no other allegiance, no other home, not a golden ticket for anyone who can afford a plane ticket or cross a river at the right moment. Senator Lehman Trumbull, I believe his name was, a principal architect of the 14th Amendment, was explicit: subject to the jurisdiction. Meant owing allegiance to no other country. That's the original legal standard. Not breathing on American soil. Then there's Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's reasoning, which deserves direct examination because it exposes the exact fucking problem with how this court is thinking. She argued that if she visited Japan as a tourist and stole a wallet, she would be subject to Japanese law, and in that sense owe local allegiance to Japan. Her point: temporary presence plus legal subjection equals jurisdictional allegiance, sufficient for birthright citizenship. Now think about what that logic actually means when you follow it to its conclusion. By her own standard, any foreign national physically present on American soil and subject to American prosecution meets the test. Every illegal border crosser, every overstayed visa, every foreign head of state sitting in an American courtroom, all of them, by her framework, locally owing allegiance. If temporary presence isn't enough, or if temporary presence is enough, then the word jurisdiction in the 14th Amendment means absolutely nothing. And you cannot use that same collapsed logic to argue that citizenship has any meaningful threshold whatsoever. Full stop. The Heritage Foundation's legal scholars have laid this out clearly. There's a fundamental difference between territorial jurisdiction, the law's power to govern behavior within its borders, and complete political jurisdiction, which requires genuine allegiance to the sovereign. Jackson collapsed that distinction entirely, and when you collapse it, you have no coherent legal standard left. You have a fucking rubber stamp. And the result of that rubber stamp, folks, is what we're living with today. Birth tourism is documented. It is real. It is industrial in scale in some communities. Women travel specifically to give birth here, return back home where they came from, and raise children with U.S. passports as geopolitical assets. This is not a conspiracy theory. Federal prosecutors and immigration officials have charged people with it. The U.S. Solicitor General argued before the court this week that birth tourism is, quote, creating a whole generation of American citizens abroad with no meaningful ties to the United States. That's the government's own language, folks. The policy answer is not complicated here. It's at least one parent should be a legal citizen or permanent resident for their child to receive birthright citizenship. That's it. That is the rule in virtually every developed nation on earth. It's the rule in countries held up as models of enlightened immigration policy. The idea that requiring legal parental status is somehow radical or unconstitutional is not a legal argument whatsoever. It's a political one. And it's one being made by people who benefit from the chaos, not the country, okay? You need to keep that in mind. Because the 14th Amendment was written to correct one of history's greatest injustices. The denial of citizenship to people who had been on the soil for generations enslaved, building this country with their hands and their blood. It was not written to be a mechanism of circumventing border law. Treating it that way isn't honoring the amendment's legacy, it's desecrating it. And the American people understand this. Common sense understands this. And any institution that refuses to engage with that reality, honestly, is not protecting the Constitution. It is hiding behind it. And that brings us to the question that nobody in mainstream media seems to want to ask out loud, which is this: how does someone reason like this and sit on the highest court in the fucking land? This is not a personal attack here, folks. This is a legitimate institutional question. Because when a sitting Supreme Court justice uses a tourist stealing a wallet in Japan as the intellectual foundation for a constitutional argument about American citizenship, and doesn't appear to recognize that her own analogy obliterates the standard she's trying to defend, we are obligated as citizens to ask, is the quality of reasoning we should accept from a lifetime appointee making decisions that affect 330 million people? The Supreme Court is not a participation trophy, folks. It is the final word on what this country is and who it belongs to. The bar for that seat should be at the sharpest legal minds this nation can produce. People whose logic is fucking airtight, whose reasoning holds up when stress tested, and whose arguments don't collapse under their own weight. Because the moment you follow them one step farther, or let me back up. That doesn't collapse under its own weight the moment you follow it one step farther than they originally intended. That's what I was saying. What Justice Jackson demonstrated in that courtroom was not sharp legal reasoning, folks. It was a logical framework so poorly constructed that it proves the opposite of what she intended. And the frightening part isn't that someone holds that opinion, because people are entitled to their views. The frightening part is that she didn't appear to see it. That she put it forward with confidence in front of the fucking nation as a serious constitutional argument, folks. We have a right to expect more. We have a responsibility to demand more. Because there aren't abstract academic debates. Or these aren't abstract academic debates, rather. These are decisions that shape the architecture of this country for generations after generations. And if the people making those decisions cannot follow their own logic to its natural conclusion, then we have a problem that goes far deeper than immigration policy, folks. That's not a political statement. That's a fucking standard. And it's one we should never stop holding our institutions to. So, to give some context of what she was referring to with the Japan thing, basically what she's saying, under her context, Maduro, who we just captured in Venezuela, okay? Because he's a prisoner on American soil and is being prosecuted under American law, then he has and owes allegiance to the United States. Do you really think that he's gonna give his allegiance to the United States, folks? Just think about that for a minute. That's her logic. That's what she's saying. It's the same thing. Just a much larger crime than stealing a wallet. That's literally what she's saying, folks. So let that sink in. She's saying that because the people flying the airplanes on 9/11, the terrorists, or whoever the hell they were, if they were terrorists, because I know there's a lot of fucking conspiracy behind that, but that's neither here nor there. And there's a lot, well, not conspiracy, there's a lot of truth that's come out behind that. But the terrorists flying the airplanes, because they were on American soil, they had allegiance to America. That's what her logic says. Now, do those people have allegiance to America, folks? I'd argue not. Or else they wouldn't have flew the fucking plane into the building. It's insane that somebody with this mental capacity is sitting in the Supreme Court. You know, I'm going to say something very, very controversial right now. And I know it's going to rub people the wrong way, but it is what it is. I'm starting to see pattern, folks. I really am. You know, a male and a female were biologically made different for very good reasons. The female is going to be the sympathizer and the empathizer. The male is going to get straight to the fucking point and nip the shit in the butt when it needs to be nipped. Whatever situation it is. Full stop. And the reason I say this is because I see in Virginia we now have a female governor who is now allowing men in women's bathrooms again. And she has daughters. What logic is there? So you want dudes who think that they're a fucking female to be in the bathroom with your daughters? You know, I really think that somebody, a mother especially, with that kind of thinking, really needs a psychological evaluation. Like, should she even have kids, bro? You're essentially putting your fucking kids at risk of rape. What the fuck is wrong with you? Not to mention all of Virginia. Like, everybody has daughters, bro. Like, you're putting other people's daughters at risk. I don't get it. And the only logical thing is that it's the sympathizing and the empathizing bullshit. I'm a huge empath too, but I don't have fucking sympathy for this shit. Because, guess what? It is what it is. The law is the fucking law. It's that simple. Illegal is illegal. Illegal is a crime. Whether it's an illegal person or an illegal substance, it's a crime to be in this country. And the pattern I'm seeing is that this woman governor, this woman Supreme Court Justice Jackson, they're women, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. All I'm saying is that this empathizing and sympathizing bullshit is gonna collapse this fucking country. You need somebody that has some fucking cojones. Some godforsaken balls. Damn. Like I don't even know. You know, I've been thinking about moving and leaving the fucking state and going to a much better state. But then I think about it and I'm like, okay, well, I would feel kind of like it could just happen in any state. You just never know. You know what I'm saying? Like, this woman is allowing men and women's bathrooms. She's stripping away the 2A rights. She's fucking gerrymandering the most even fucking seating state in the fucking nation. It's like a 5-6 split. And she's trying to make it a 10-1 split. 10 Democrat, 1 Republican seat. Why would you want to do that? Why wouldn't you be okay with it being the most equal fucking state in the nation? With a 5-6 split. Like, these people need mental evaluations, folks. Like, they should not be in the fucking position that they are in. And it's not... It's their fucking mindset, bro. It's just not there. They're not looking at the big fucking picture, bro. They're looking at the child that is born. In regards to the immigration stuff and birthright citizenship, they're looking at the child that is born. That's what they're looking at. That one single thing. They're not looking at how that child was born and why that child was born. They're not looking at the fact that 2 adults chose to illegally enter a country and have a child on purpose to have their child become a citizen. And basically, it's fraud. It's cheating the fucking system. Abusing the system. They're fraudulently having kids here, basically, is what that is. That's what it is. It's fraudulent birth. And I don't think that people who come here legally should be able to have legal citizenship kids. they don't get birthright citizenship. I don't think that should not be the case, bro. Like I said, not only is it a crime, it's a huge national fucking security risk. A massive national security risk. And if you have any sort of tactical fucking thinking in your brain, then you would be able to recognize that. Again, they aren't looking at the big fucking picture. They're worried about hurting somebody's fucking feelings. But those feelings wouldn't have to be worried about being hurt if these people didn't make a fucking choice, bro. These people made a choice. And it's unfortunate that the child would have to suffer the consequences of their parents, but guess what? We all do. It's fucked up, but it is what it is, man. It just is what it is. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand how anybody could not see the logic in what I'm saying. I really don't. And the illogical statement that Justice Jackson made in reference to her stealing a fucking wallet in Japan deems her allegiance to fucking Japan. Highly disappointed. That vote yesterday that was vetoed should have been a 9-0 pass. And it got vetoed. Folks, I'm 35 years old. And, I'm really, really concerned that if not in my lifetime, in my future kids and the younger generations younger than me are going to see a first world country rapidly move to a third world country, to the state of a third world country. That is what I'm very concerned about. It's going to be unrecognizable to what it is now. It's already becoming unrecognizable. We're already there. We're already there. It's insane, dude. But anyways, I just wanted to put that all into perspective for y'all. For the ones who may not have really grasped the logic that she was trying to fucking apply to the birthright citizenship in regards to Justice Jackson yesterday. This empathizing and sympathizing bullshit for votes, or just because it's in your nature to be like that. Like, we were made biologically man and woman for a reason, folks. To be mothers and fathers. And those two are very different roles. Anyways, that's gonna do it for now. This shit's very frustrating. I'll say one more thing. The only thing that, like I said, I've been thinking about leaving, but it's like, I feel the need to get involved and fight back. Like, get involved in the local government, starting at the local government level. I really do. Full stop, I really do. I'm really, really feeling the need for that. And I'm seriously contemplating it. I'm just in a process right now in recovery, and hey, that doesn't mean it's not possible. Because guess what? Look at RFK. The man was addicted to heroin at one point in time. And look at him now. So, having had a past with addiction does not mean that you can't do anything in life. Because look at RFK. That is like the best fucking example of change is possible. And everybody in addiction should be looking up to that man. 100%. That should be huge motivation. But anyways, I really am feeling the need to get involved, man. Like, that's the only, it's like either you run from it and it's just going to end up following you, and it's going to be like a fucking disease. It's just going to constantly spread from state to state. That's what it's doing now. And fucking, you either run from it and just prolong when you actually have to fucking suffer from it directly, or you fucking step up and take charge of a situation and do your best to make it fucking change, make the change happen. Accept 0 fucking donations from nobody. No APAC. No, none of that shit. Work your way up from the local town to the state to the Senate to the Congress, whatever the fuck you gotta do. And don't accept any fucking donors. 0 fucking tolerance. That person will be the one to make changes. That person will be the one most hated on the Hill. But so be it. Because that's what it's going to take. But that person who's going to be most hated on the Hill will probably be the most liked by the public. I'm just saying. But it also depends on the individual. But where my mindset is, that's how it would be. So, I'm very much contemplating it. Getting involved. I encourage, if, I can do my podcast and attempt to influence and inform, not really influence, but just inform and encourage and inspire more. So definitely inform people and, encourage for others to step up and take charge and take action, the right way to implement change that better suits the American citizen. The actual American citizen. It's fucking nuts, bro. Something's gotta happen. Something's gotta give. Tolerance. These people are poking a bear, man. They really are. These people are poking the tolerance bear. And that bear's only going to be poked for so long, and it's going to get mad. And that bear is the American people. And that bear is only going to take the poking for so long before it snaps. And then everybody's going to have a world of Never mind. Like, I'm really afraid that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to end up being, I'm afraid that the American people are going to be pushed to the point of having to, like, take action into their own hands, and I don't want to see that happen. That would not be good for us as a country at all. Not at all. But I'm afraid, like, it's either going to go there or it's going to go the other fucking way, which is becoming completely unrecognizable, completely in the opposite direction of the Constitution. And I really don't want to see either of those things happen. I don't want to see Americans fighting upon each other, shooting at each other. Definitely don't want to see military shooting at civilians and civilians shooting at military. Not at all. But the moment you know that there is a problem is when the military stops taking orders and starts taking action against a corrupt government. That's when you know shit's really gotten real. Is when the generals have had enough. It's scary, folks. It really is. Like, these are all, like, possible things, man. And it's really scary to think about, in a sense, dude. Like, people here don't know what that life is like. I don't. I would argue that most Americans don't know what living in a third world country is like. But I'm in fear that we're on that path to learning real quick what that's like. Something's got to change, man. We got to figure out how to impeach this lady in the Supreme Court or whatever the hell. She needs to be replaced, bro. Anybody with that mental capacity should not be sitting on the Supreme Court. Anybody with the mental capacity of allowing men and women's bathrooms shouldn't be a fucking governor either. I'm just saying. But anyways, went on a little tangent there. Hope everybody has a good day. I'll catch you all in the next one. It's Roby with the Manufactured Mind. Peace out.